We've all heard about the smurfing problem in Valorant, right?
The current state of ranked, from what I've experienced in the past, that hasn't been the greatest experience.
It seems like every streamer is actively hating on ranked because of smurfs.
There's just a number of issues that, in Riot's defense, are very hard to fix.
I outright refuse to play the game. Like, if I'm ever playing Valorant on stream, new patch or Pro City, that's it, or like 10 months. I actually refuse to play ranked. I'm not playing ranked anymore.
Hell, even Tarek had to make Pro City so that pros and streamers had a place to play without smurfs and stream snipers. So this got me thinking, are there any real solutions to the smurfing problem in Valorant? But before we jump into Pro City and how Tarek's trying to save Valorant, let's first talk about what smurfing is. Smurfing is when you play on an account that is a lower rank than where you're really at. Now, sometimes this is unavoidable, like you take a break from the game, your rank decays, and then when you come back, you're way lower than you should be. But this typically corrects itself after a few games. What I'm talking about is when people purposely play on a lower ranked account just to stroke their egos and smash noobs. Now, it's important to note that this is not a problem exclusive to Valorant. There's a smurfing problem in Counter-Strike, Dota, League of Legends, Rocket League, pretty much every competitive game. So this begs the question, why is smurfing such a big problem? The most obvious answer is that people like to win. Playing weaker opponents means you get more wins. Personally, I think this is a loser mentality. Winning this way is obviously a hollow victory, since you're not actually challenging yourself or improving. It would be like LeBron thinking he's the GOAT for beating a middle schooler in a 1v1. Everyone would think he's a loser, which, if you're smurfing, you are. Another reason people play on smurfs is to quote-unquote protect their rank. What I mean by this is that, let's just say for example, you have an account that's Ascendant 3. You're close to ranking up, but you don't want a solo queue on the account because you're more likely to lose, or maybe you're not warmed up or in a good mental place, but you still want to play a competitive game where your teammates are actually trying. So you get another account and play your solo games on that. Okay, fine. I guess I understand that, but it still speaks to a weak mentality.
So I don't understand it. The reason I think people do it is because I think they're in a rank they know they don't belong in, and they don't want to risk losing that rank, and they know that they're not going to have a good time in that rank. So they hop on their smurf to basically feed their ego. Because personally, I think it's pointless. It's boring. I think it's boring. It's just like whatever, like obviously. So that's how I see it.
The people who do this think the rank defines who they are, which it doesn't. Rank is a reflection of your current skill level. I see this in a lot of people who have never played in a tournament or anything else that quote-unquote really matters. For these gamers, ranked is the most legit competition they're going to play, so they feel the need to protect it, when in reality, it's a loser mentality that's holding them back from actually playing more and getting better. But then again, there are some legit reasons for smurfing. A lot of games, Valorant included, put limitations on what ranks you can queue with. What happens if you have a buddy who you're trying to get into the game, but they're too low of a rank for you to play with? Are they just doomed to solo queue? That doesn't feel right. You should be able to play with your friends in a competitive environment and help them learn so they can get on your level. So the solution is to play on another account.
When I've smurfed and gotten complaints about it, the only reason I'm playing on this account is because I want to play with my friends that are in a lower rank. And truthfully and honestly, I would never try hard and try to smash them because it's just kind of pointless. I don't get the satisfaction of beating up on guys that aren't my size, basically.
This I totally understand. Solo queuing is hell, and when you're trying to get your friends into the game, damning them to solo queues just seems cruel. That said, if you do this, you're ruining the game for everybody else in the server, so you're still kind of a piece of shit. But at least it comes from a good place. You want to make your friend feel included, help them improve, and add more people to the Valorant community. Cool. I just wish there was a better solution than having to play on another account and ruin the game for everyone. So what's the solution to all this? Well, Riot, as well as other competitive game devs, have tried several solutions. Let's walk through them and see how effective they are. First off, Riot has put level limits on your account before you can play ranked. This means you have to have a certain number of casual games under your belt before you're even allowed to queue ranked. This stops people from just signing up for a Riot account with a burner email and jumping right into smurfing. You have to put in the work playing game modes you don't want to before you can actually queue rank, which stops people from just making tons of smurf accounts. That said, people typically get around this just by buying an account that's already at the rank you want. Riot also has 2 separate queues, 3 if you count Premier. You can play unrated or ranked. This somewhat solves the queuing with your friend problem, since you have a game mode where you can play without rank limits and help your friend learn the game. I say somewhat because, as anyone who has played unrated knows, you rarely get people who take the game seriously. This means that teaching your friend is going to go way slower, since you're going to have a bunch of morons on your team not using their mics and trolling. That said, it's better than nothing. The last two features are new additions by Riot this year. The first is the new smurfing report feature. If you're playing ranked and you think you found somebody smurfing, you can now report them for matchmaking abuse. This is definitely a step in the right direction. However, I haven't actually seen anybody punished for this, so who knows if Riot's actually taking action. The other thing Riot implemented this year is two-factor authentication on accounts. This means you can register your phone number to your account and will get texted a code whenever you need to log in. This is great because it actually uses an outside factor of limitation. In order to get around this, you either need multiple phone lines or to go through the work of learning how to spoof phone numbers. Now, this currently isn't fully implemented, so we don't know how big of an effect it will have, and it's not 100% foolproof, but at least it makes the Smurfs jump through some annoying hoops in order to actually Smurf, which will bounce a good portion of casual Smurfs.
Yeah, I think the two-factor is a good step to help with smurfing. I know they're trying to crack down on that, which is a big problem because it does happen where, you know, someone will just buy an account or someone will just get boosted on their account. So the fact that they're taking measures is really good. But I think what has to happen from my POV is that the way I see it is that it trickles down from the top. So I feel like Riot should create some sort of moderator team that is focused on specifically the higher elo matches, which are also getting the most exposure, usually the highest viewed in terms of live streams, where these players have the ability to, during a live match, reach out to an admin who's connected to the lobby and able to take action based on what's happening. A lot of these issues are going to be very hard to fix in an automated fashion. And I think that it'll also be a step in the right direction if players that are, you know, giving these ranked matches the most exposure are having a better experience, because some of these things you just can't automate in terms of fixes. But I do think their introductions of things like 2FA are really strong for helping combat it.
This is what Valorant has done about smurfing, but what about other games? I know that in Counter-Strike, they do a lot of the same things: account level minimums, ranked versus unranked queues, etc. One thing that CS does that works pretty well is having external matchmaking. I'm talking about things like Faceit. If you don't know about Faceit, essentially, it's a ranked queue outside the game that you can pay a small fee for additional permissions, including only playing with paid members. Even without paying the $7 a month, you get to play with a more invasive anti-cheat, admins who are more responsive to reports than Riot or Valve, and the knowledge that your teammates specifically went out of their way to use this service, so they're more likely to try. Think of it like Pro City, without the requirement of actually being a pro. Now, is Faceit 100% perfect? Absolutely not. You still get smurfs and cheaters, but the biggest upside is that there's an admin team that actually is pretty responsive. I mean, just look up Faceit Darwin's Twitter and see how many accounts he's banning. Would this work for Valorant? I'm not sure, but I do think having something like a paid subscription is more likely to have people take the game seriously and cut way down on the number of people smurfing. I just don't see people shelling out a monthly fee for multiple accounts.
It's a good question. I don't think it would ever happen, but let's explore like what it would look like if it was to. Subscription model is interesting. Like you pay like $5, $10, and it's like a verified, you know, experience where you can play with more legit players. I agree. That's probably the goal, honestly, with everything they're doing, is to try to make it more tedious for these guys to actually break the rules. I just think it's a tricky angle to explore. It would be interesting.
Ultimately, there's no perfect way to deal with Smurfs, unless you want to get all 1984 with it and have people register their accounts to their social security numbers or something. But that's just crazy. What does give me hope is things like Pro City. Having the community come together and build a solution just feels like the right thing.
Yeah, Pro City is an interesting one for sure. I think the thing that's inspired it the most is it's kind of my passion from bringing back where I was brought up in the Counter-Strike community. Looking at FPL or Rank S, and it's essentially designed to be a similar environment where these pros get to play against other pros, and we kind of get to have the best and highest level playing experience while giving exposure to upcoming talent. ultimately creating, very entertaining content at a very high level. And the reason I'm doing it, truthfully, it's one, because I want to give back to the community in this way. And then two, like I said, it's literally where I was brought up. So the fact that I can kind of create this system and introduce it to the next generation feels really, just satisfying. So that's why I'm trying to, especially this time around, kind of go all in with it. I said if it's the last thing I do for the Valorant community, then so let it be, because I want to make this environment and I want the pros to be able to kind of climb the ladder in this ecosystem similar to myself.
While Pro City is currently on hiatus for the holidays, hopefully it's a strong enough proof of concept and can expand into something more like Faceit. Combine that with Riot rolling out two-factor authentication, and I'm hopeful that I can get back into playing ranked and actually enjoying the game.